Okay, so here are the rails, and here is our show.
Completely off. Completely gone today. What in the world? Derailed.
Yay, you're here. Welcome to the CK and GK podcast. Let's get going.
Hey, y'all. We're so glad you're here for another CK and GK podcast episode. We're thrilled to share part 2 of our collaboration episode with Petals of Support this week. In this episode, hear why it's important to remember that your relationship with your parents is complicated and requires a lens of grace and empathy, and you learn what we mean when we say, use the stickers. We also answer 5 fun questions, just like guests on Inside the Actor Studio. If you'd like more information about Mama D and her podcast, Petals of Support, please find her links in the show notes for this episode. Enjoy!
Hello, and welcome back to Petals of Support. This is Mama D. We have part 2 of the so fun sleepover I had with CK and GK from the CK and GK podcast. This is the Do Not Bite Your Friends sleepover, and if you have not listened to part 1, please go back and do that. It's the episode before. It was the Tuesday episode number 92, and so much great advice was shared by Jenny and Caitlin, as well as lots of great stories and laughter. So here we go into part 2.
Yeah. Okay. I have another one. I have another piece of advice. Speaking of parenting, this one is probably, I think it's actually difficult for me to talk about, but that's okay. Your parents are flawed humans.
Mm-hmm.
So are my children's parents.
Right. My children's parents, my child's parents are flawed humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of us, when we're kids, we have this idea of our parents being these perfect people. If you had a difficult childhood, you had to learn that your parents were flawed humans much earlier than some other people did. Mm-hmm. Right. Everyone just has those moments in their life where they experience something that reminds them or notifies them or puts them in a position where all of a sudden you're dealing with an imperfect human and not your parent figure. Mm-hmm. Right. What you choose to do with that flaw that you're seeing is really powerful. You can either accept it and move on and be a part of your parents moving forward. Just they're flawed humans. We're all adults, or whatever it may be, or you can deny it. But understanding that your parents are flawed humans will probably save you a lot of why questions in therapy later on. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like just thinking about those moments when I looked at my parents and I went, it's not because of anything other than the fact that they're human and humans make mistakes. Right. Mm-hmm. It was a really powerful moment for me to go, oh, that's why that relationship isn't what it used to be, or that's why that relationship isn't perfect, or that's why, there's this conflict happening in my parents' home or with my parents and some other parent, mm-hmm. or something like that. Just those moments of, oh yeah, everyone has those moments in their life. And, you might be in the middle of yours right now. Or maybe you had it when you were really little. Mm-hmm. And I'm
sorry if you did.
And I'm sorry if you did, because coming to that realization is incredibly difficult and no one should have to learn it super young, mm-hmm. but it's difficult to learn when you're older too, because then there's an established pattern of behavior.
Right. Yeah.
So no one should go through life, having to think about those things, but there is that moment. And I can distinctly recall when my own father had for his parents, and watching what happened in that aftermath was very difficult as a grandchild, as a child, as a coming of age teenager into adulthood. Those are things that are difficult, and I just the sooner that you remember that, okay, yep, you're just a human. You're my dad. You're my favorite dad in the whole wide world. You're the best, and I love you more than anything. But you're not perfect because you're a human.
Right. I
Just
think
one
it
of those things.
also, I had heard, and it's funny because now that I'm an adult and, but looking back to my parents, it's that idea that I grew up watching my parents grow up. My kids are watching me grow up. And because I am constantly changing, who I am at 45, 46 is not who I was at 26. And so my oldest has watched me change who I am. My perspective has changed. My behaviors have changed. I've matured because we keep maturing. And so I had to look back and realize that I watched my parents grow up. And that is a really weird concept to have, that, because, I have, of course, so many memories, but the idea that, I do remember them messing up. I do remember, and they were not perfect then. They're not perfect now. But just like I would like someone to give me the grace to grow and mature, I need to give that to my parents. But then there is also kind of that, going with what you said, that sometimes we have some characteristics and personality flaws that are not going to change. And we, as you said, either have to accept them or figure out what we're going to do with that information when it happens or when we realize it. Because there are some parts of me that is who I am. There is no changing that this is who I am. And it's because I'm just not none of us are perfect. That's right. It's not even worth striving towards because it's not going to ever happen.
I mean, even Mary Poppins was just practically perfect.
Practically, that's right. That's right.
Right. It's one of those things where, like, you're sitting in therapy, as one does, and you get asked a question, and then you'll say, well, this is what my mom did, or this is what my dad did, or whatever the answer is for you, and then the therapist will say something like, well, of course that's how they reacted. They're a human being, and you're just, oh,
yeah.
The oh moment is so powerful. And just, when you hear stories about your parents as kids and the things that they did, it's so hard for you to process sometimes, right? Yeah. I mean, it's because you've never seen them in that light, and that's because that's before you knew them, before they were this perfect parent that you relied on for everything. So
right.
Just, it is weird to think about your parents growing up. My mom was very young when she had me, and in a sense, you're absolutely right. We grew up together in that kind of way. She wasn't in high school or anything like that, but it's still, she was on her own. And so it was interesting to think about it like that with the way that you just said it. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but yes, I watched my mom grow up just as much as she watched me.
Right.
So
the moment for me was when I was 25. And my mom and I went to go take care of my grandmother. I was a teacher, and so still am, but I had the summer off. And so my dad was actually going to take my mom to go help my grandmother move out of a rehab facility back into her house after she had had a heart attack. And I said, no, Dad, don't take the time off. I'm already off. I'll do this. And watching in real time as an adult, the relationship between my mom and my grandmother clarified for me so many issues that my mom and I had together. But I wouldn't have seen that at 5 or 10 or 15. I had to become an adult, process the conflict that mom and I had. And, I grew up in a great family, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't come from a home where anyone would feel sorry for me. Like things were lovely and I was very privileged in that manner. But watching my mother interact with her mother made me realize when my mom fell short in my book, it was because of who her model was.
Absolutely. And having those moments is, hopefully you're older when they happen, right? Like hopefully you're in your 20s and you can process.
I was lucky. I was 25.
Right.
And unfortunately, this is the mother that my mom had her whole life.
Right.
I think it's good to file them away. Like I'm thinking of relationships that I am seeing, like between, let's say, my mother-in-law and myself. And we have come a long, long way. And I take full ownership for my role in when we first met and I stole her baby from her. And I was, I was not good enough. And what I had to deal with having those feelings of not being good enough. And so I do not want to do that with if my boys get married, who knows what they will do. They might have dogs and I might be a grand dog, mother. I mean, whatever works is fine with me. But if either one of them gets married, I want to make sure that I learn from those behaviors. And I would never want to make somebody else feel the way that I was made to feel. So sometimes I sit back and think about that when she and I have a conflict. And again, we are doing so much better because we have she's grown up too. I've grown up.
Right.
And I have learned to let things go a lot quicker. And maybe it also helps that I look at my kids and think, well, yeah, no one is going to be good enough for them because
they're my boys.
They're the smartest schmoopies and most handsome schmoopies in the world.
Right. Totally.
What can you bring to the table here that would compete with this? So I get it, but I also realize that that's something I can think in my head and laugh about, but I sure as heck would never say it out loud. So I'm learning. And I think we're doing so much better. So I think she has learned, or maybe she just learned that, it was best to just leave me alone because it wasn't going to work another way. And we do fine now. So I think it's kind of looking at these situations, watching maybe our parents where they messed up, they made mistakes because they're human, and try not to continue the cycle with ourselves.
Right.
Because we're going to make our own mistakes. I've told the kids several times, I'm like, you know what? I'm doing my very, very best.
Right.
I apologize when I mess up.
That's the biggest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just own it and apologize, because that's what you would want your sons to do when they make a mistake.
Yes. And I just hope that, I said, well, do it different.
Right.
Less mistakes. You'll make your own. You'll find your own
we
to
know,
do.
Right. We know better now, so we do better. And that's really the thing that we have to remember. I just, and I don't mean to imply any sort of difficulties in my own childhood either, right? Like my parents are lovely people. I never felt like I wasn't loved by either of them. I never had, again, similar situation to Jenny, right? Like I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and oh yeah, my parents are amazing people.
Yes. Wow.
We're Irish Catholic, if that means anything to you.
I didn't say it, you did, but man, I thought it.
I mean, yeah. But that said, you still have to take a step back and go, oh, the reason that conflict is happening is because there's a human,
there's 2 humans involved,
right? There's humans interacting with one another there,
right?
And so just keeping that in mind when you're angry with your parents, or when you're frustrated with them, or when you hear like, wait, what, this happened to who? What are you talking about? Just having that in mind is very important, I think. It's sort of that whole take a beat thing, take a step back.
Yeah.
Okay, you're human. Let me deal with this later. But just knowing that is helpful. Right.
Take a step back and ask for help.
Yeah.
Right.
Daniel Tiger.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to interject this, but both of you have kind of said that, I get that you both had, I'm glad you both had these wonderful, you grew up in a safe place, that you felt safe.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't
Right.
mean that you can't have upset. And I think that that's,
absolutely.
Right.
and I hear so many, I've known people who almost don't want to share where they've had some upset growing up, because they almost feel guilty because they had a 2-parent household, or they had all this love and all this. Well, yeah, but you were raised, as you're saying, by 2 humans.
Mm-hmm.
And so the upset, the pain, I mean, this is the funniest, is when my husband and I were getting married, we sat with the priest, who said, you're kind of going over, what's going to happen, but there's also kind of a little bit of a therapy going on, making sure that you two understand each other and, air any kind of issues you might have. And we didn't really have any. And so the priest said to both of us, well, how did your parents fight? And we both are like, they didn't. I literally have never seen my parents argue my entire life. And my husband said the same thing. Well, that sounds all wonderful to the outside, like, you have these parents who didn't fight. The problem is that neither my husband and I learned how to successfully have an argument. So we have our own other kind of issue that happened, because we didn't know how to share feelings without, we were so afraid we'd hurt feelings. We didn't know what to say. So it's taken us some years, 21, to be able to, where we now know how to argue. That came over time. And that's a funny thing to say you had to learn, but I didn't learn that from my parents. I'm sure they argued. It just sure as heck wasn't in my line of sight.
They didn't do it in front of you.
Right. Well, and my husband the same way.
A very wise woman once said to me,
mm-hmm.
This is your tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be on someone else's radar as tragedy,
mm-hmm.
but it is yours.
Right.
And the idea that we can't define that for anyone else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to be the word tragedy, which is so extreme. It could be, this is your hurt.
Mm-hmm.
This is your disappointment. And it doesn't have to be the same as someone else's.
Right.
We all follow our own path.
Right.
And in my case, my tragedy was not that my child had cancer or that I lost my parents at an early age.
Right.
It was that I went through a really terrible divorce.
Right.
Which I came out on the other side and I'm fine now.
Right.
But in that moment, it felt so validating.
Mm-hmm.
This is your tragedy.
I like that. Yes. And there's no need to compete. I think that's always,
Absolutely.
The one where I'm like, and I know that some people currently have it a whole lot harder than I do, and I feel for them and I'm sorry. And I have all those feelings and I'm not trying to compete, but it's kind of like one of those. And then when something happens to me, well, that's a big feeling for me, whether it is something that to somebody else might seem very small. It is a big feeling to me, and I'm allowed to have those feelings. I'm allowed to say, this is stressing me out, where somebody else might be like, that seriously was not the biggest deal in the world. I'm like, well, to me, it was.
And that's what I'm constantly working on with myself is my feelings about my feelings.
Yeah. It's hard, because we need to be able to express those things in a safe way and not have that other person looking at you going, that's what made you upset today. Mama D, it's like, really, that was your big drama. And I'm like, but maybe it's not, but because of everything else that's going on.
A lot to me.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Right.
It's, that was good.
All right. Well, I have an upbeat one.
Okay. Bring it.
Mine is, and I'm using Caitlin's summary of my quote.
Mm-hmm.
Use the stickers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Eat pizza on the good china.
Yes.
Write in that notebook that's so pretty that you've been saving for some special cause.
Mm-hmm.
And take those stickers off the page and slap them on a piece of paper.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If the candle is good and it's fancy and you've never lit it, light it tonight. Because you don't have to save everything for a quote unquote special occasion. Today is special.
100% agree. Very good.
My husband says, don't be Madonna. We are living in a material world. But memories are more important.
Yeah.
Put your emphasis on your experience and not your items.
Mhm.
We don't need to save things for a special occasion. We don't need to say today isn't worthy of this. You know what? Use the sticker. Use
Right.
it.
Yeah. I agree.
That's just
you go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. She said that in one of our other episodes. It
Mhm.
was a self-care episode that we did at the beginning of 2022.
Mhm.
And she just said, and use the stickers. And I went, oh my goodness. Like, here I am giving out advice about things that I probably don't know half of, right? or I'm working on living in my own life. And then she said that, and I just went, oh my gosh, like use the stickers. Like,
Mhm.
why am I holding on to this good pen that I know I love? Why don't I just use the stupid pen? Why don't I just put the
Right.
stickers in my planner? Like, they're not that special. It's a sticker. Put it in your
Mhm.
planner. It's fine. That's what it's there for. And
Right.
watching my son use all of his really fancy Spider-Man stickers with reckless abandon all over everything. And I mean everything.
Yeah.
So if he
And
can do
today
it,
is a special day.
right.
Because you
Today can
woke
be
up
special.
and
Right.
you got another one.
Right.
Right.
It's that in itself is worthy of the sticker.
That's right. Well,
Light the candle,
exactly.
eat the pizza. Do it.
My mom, and I remember growing up, and she had this really pretty desk with all these perfume bottles on it. And they were her special perfume bottles.
Mhm.
And they were all pretty, like those really fancy kind of
gorgeous
things,
ones.
yeah.
Yes.
And I was allowed to look at them, but I was not allowed to touch them, which was probably like the smart. Could you imagine? I'd be like, the whole house would have been,
Oh, yeah, no.
But she never used them. She had stuff she used, and she was always, those are special. And it was when they moved their home and we're boxing this up, and you realize that perfume does go bad.
Mhm.
She ended up throwing away. Some of it had, over time, just what would you, it was the bottle
separated or broken
separated.
Yeah.
Some had, it had like the English words are just, I don't remember the word in English that I'm trying to think of, but there was less in the bottle, and so she evaporated. There we go.
There it is.
It's maybe Mama D and the wine. We'll just put that right there.
Drink the wine. Today is special.
That's right. We don't need to communicate well. It was
Not in this business.
It was there was so much. She would. So we threw away all these bottles, and it's you sit there and think you should have used them. And so I 100% agree. I mean, all the special china that you have. I mean, I have busted out this really good china that we have because it's in this china cabinet. It's really pretty. It's blue. And my youngest is colorblind, so he can only see, he sees certain colors, but he loves blue. So one of these, it was one of these days that it was his, he wanted something to eat. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use the good china. The only downfall to the good china is you can't put it in the dishwasher.
You have to hand wash it.
So the good china. I kind of decided at that moment, maybe there's a reason why, like, you don't use the good china all the time, because that was a pain.
But that's a good reason not to use it, because you owe yourself a favor of not having to wash it.
Exactly.
But if the reason that you're not using it is because macaroni and cheese isn't fancy enough, it is.
It is. It is. You can put it in a little smiley. It doesn't matter. I 100% agree with you. That's good. Yes.
Put a paper bowl on top of the china. Like, have the china on the table and then use a paper plate on top of it.
Okay, so I'll tell you, I used to do a fundraiser at a church I used to go to, and we would do that. We would put plastic clear plates on top of our china.
Oh,
right.
So that the women who were donating their china didn't have to bring home dirty dishes to wash.
Okay.
And so everyone got to eat on the fancy plates, but it was on clear plastic so that we could throw that away.
That is a good, there's a life hack right there. That is a really, really good one, because just toss it and you still get to see the prettiness of the china, and it's still, I love that. That's a good one. Yeah.
The other thing, this is just a random piece of advice that I heard somewhere, and I've used it in my own life. It has to do with stickers, so it's not just completely random. Okay. If you have little kids who like branded items, like they want the Paw Patrol string cheese instead of the regular string cheese. Get a Paw Patrol sticker and stick it on that string cheese, and that's how you walk out of the store with it. Like we went through it with bananas. We wanted the fancy bananas, the one that had the Paw Patrol sticker on it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, look over there for a second, and then I put a little chase on there. And all of a sudden, those bananas were now branded Paw Patrol bananas. And they, so that's my other use.
That's amazing.
I love that.
It
We have
works.
to think outside the box, don't we?
Yeah,
I like that one.
exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
That's
I
good.
need to practice writing the Chanel logo and see if I can put that on a sweater for myself.
Just get a sticker. It's fine.
Just
Supreme
works.
stickers. Stick them all over yourself.
What do you mean this isn't a Louis Vuitton bag? I put a sticker on it.
Right?
It counts.
It's fine. It's peeling off, but it's okay. It's no big deal.
I had an L and a V.
Like bubble letters. It's the same.
It works. It all works.
It all works.
Oh my gosh, what a fun night.
It has been.
Yeah.
Great advice. And I think it really, when you can share the stories, then it
Yeah.
really kind of,
Yeah.
because I've said, my stories are my stories, but not everyone can relate to my stories. So then you kind of hope that we have the sleepovers and maybe you share something that somebody else is like, oh, now it makes way more sense. And maybe it helps somebody. So those were very good. Do you guys have any more, or were those? I wasn't even keeping track. I wasn't counting. So was that all 5? Did you have some more, or?
I think we had all
advice I have,
5.
but
Yeah.
I want to offer you a compliment.
Oh,
I recently listened to an episode where you were talking about how to support someone who is going through something rough, like a divorce.
yes. Oh, yes.
And
yes.
mine was 10 years ago, right? Like, this is a part of my story that I laugh about now, but it was hard then. And one of the things you said was just be there.
Yeah.
I loved that.
It was so beautiful. It wasn't try to fix it. It wasn't try and offer advice. It was just, hey, you want to watch crappy TV and eat bad food?
Yes.
Let's do it. Yes.
A complete non-judgment zone where if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. But if you want to talk about, toddlers, I always go back to toddlers and tiaras because that's what my poor friend sat and she was like, "What episode is this?" And I will go through all of them, and we did. And I'm like, "Yeah." I don't know why it was something that I just was like, well, I can sit here and cry and mindlessly look at the television. So yeah, I watched them all. And that's what you need, is somebody who sometimes is just there. You don't need to. And then if you want to talk about it
in your life.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Some support, and know that this doesn't define who you are.
Right.
And it doesn't, whatever it is that someone is working through.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you recognize that there are a billion parts to that person and this is just one of them.
Exactly.
And you still value the other lots of other things.
Right. Well, and it's funny how people just assume, and I mean, I get it, because then I think, I bet I have done it 100,000 times. When something big is going on, you assume that is what that's what's mainly in their head. And it probably is, but that doesn't mean they want to talk about it. And so it's just kind of being like, if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. But if you want to talk about, I was like, you want to gossip? What do you want to do? I mean,
Right.
Let's get
How's
on
your
to
garden going? I heard you had trouble with your tomatoes. Like,
Exactly.
just something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Just be a human and recognize that there's more to this person than whatever they're working through.
Exactly.
And I had a friend who was going through chemo, and one of her favorite things to do was stop and get a burger. And she's, do you want to go to Sonic with me? I'm like, yes.
Yes,
go
I
to
do.
Sonic. And you know what? That C word never came up.
Right.
Because she's dealing with that the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day. So we'll go pick up a burger and just have a moment of, let's just stuff our faces.
That is exactly 23 hours a day. She is. So for that 1 hour, you can talk about, if she wants to talk about it, because sometimes somebody does, and that is, that's what you're there for. But oh my gosh, there is so many other things that one can talk about, and it can be fun. It can be whatever. I mean, it's just kind of We can talk about, I mean, I used to be like, you want to get on TMZ? Let's go,
Nice. That's a
was,
good one.
because
That's
it was
great.
so you could separate yourself
Let's
so
do a
much.
BuzzFeed quiz.
Exactly. I'm like, let us just, or,
what Disney princess are you based on your breakfast preferences?
Exactly. Or I watched this one show and I can't remember what it's called and I can't remember anybody that was in it. Let's figure it out. And then, you're just sitting there and all of a sudden you're going down all these rabbit holes of absolutely mindless nothing. And you realize that you just needed that. You just needed to.
You just needed a human connection that
Yes.
wasn't based on something you're processing.
Exactly.
But on who you are.
Exactly.
Right.
And if I want to be TMZ that day, that's who I'm going to be. And we're going to talk about it. So
I listened to it early in the morning as I was getting ready to for work. And I may or may not have been late that day because I was like processing.
I know she does that for me too. I'm like on my walk and I'm like, Mama D just nailing it. Oh, I'm just hearing it. Like she's done it again. She's done it again.
I'll just
so
wash this mascara off my face and see if brown too will stick.
You guys are, it's so kind because like my kids are like, I was taught, we had some bad things happen in this organization I help through. And I was on this rampage because I just am like, why where's etiquette in this? Why are people acting like this? Why am I having to deal with it? So I come home and I see my youngest and I'm like, I just have to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. And he, without skipping, he's walking by me. He's like, don't you have a podcast? And he kept going and I'm like, yes.
Save it for the mic, Mom.
Save it for the mic, Mom.
I'm like, okay.
So funny.
And I realized that none of what I was going to yell about would have really helped him or affected. He would have just been like, yeah, and especially because he knows the kids of these people. So it's so hard to talk about because I'm like, I got to watch what I say. But
right, exactly.
It's just, I'm like, okay, so my next episode is going to be me going, and then this is etiquette. This is,
Emily Post is rolling in her brain.
Exactly. I should not get a phone call about this. This is just crazy stuff. And it's not even over yet because now we, have to figure out how to handle it. And I'm like, we are all like in our 40s with grown kids and you are going and acting like that in public. And then I'm getting a phone call and I'm like, I don't. Oh my gosh, people sometimes. And I don't know if it's the holidays or what it is, or these are just nutty things going on. But so I appreciate that you guys appreciate what I say because my kid's just like, no, I don't have time for you. And he just keeps on going. I'm like, okay, well, other people like what I have to say sometimes. So,
we do. We love what you have to say.
I'm going to play. There's a couple key times that I'll play something for them. I'm like, see, or I'm like, see, they think I'm funny. And they're like, that's really not what they said. But
just put it on repeat. Just put it on repeat.
That's right. Maybe mom knows something on occasion. Sometimes not, but we try. We try.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, I know it's getting late and I know that you guys need to go off and have family time with your families. And I appreciate you meeting with me when I could. And that's the problem with living in different states. It's kind of like, well, let's see if we can juggle this. So thank you so much. But I was hoping we could end this with, okay, so there was this show called, and then I have it written down. Anyway, these are 10 questions. So instead of wasting time figuring it out,
love it. I'm here for it.
So I'll pick 5 because some of them are not like probably the easiest ones to answer. And you can just each take turns. And if you do not like the question, then you don't have to answer it. You can just say no. So the first question is, what is your favorite word?
Oh, that's a good one. So, like I said earlier, we say in my family the most powerful word in the English language is yet.
I like that.
So that's like the teacher approved, very mature answer.
Mm-hmm.
I might say my favorite word is something I wouldn't say on the air.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's usually, if to be honest, see, that's like one of the ones, like, what's your favorite curse word? And I realized that by asking that, I was pretty much opening a door very quickly.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was like, but I have said, what is your favorite word? And still gotten those answers. So I'm like, well, I can't fault you because, you know, sometimes.
I know how to use my filter after as many years as a teacher I've
Right.
been.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. We have to. Oh, and this is from Inside the Actors Studio
Inside the
with
Actors
James.
Studio.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I knew I had it written down. St. Joe from the Unfiltered is the one who suggested I do this because he knows I love when they do 5 questions or 5 something on there because you just learn something about people.
Oh yeah.
So
Totally.
he gave me this list. So there's 10, but so I just pick 5. So, okay.
I like it.
Okay, Caitlin, give us your
Caitlin,
word.
yes.
So this comes from my teaching days, but when I had to be filtered, I would say, oh, that's craptastic. like you know, you can't say certain words, although
My favorite word.
Yeah. Right. And there have been times where I mixed up certain words and it came out with a swear word and said take out a blank of paper, and it was supposed to be sheet, but it didn't come out sheet.
Yeah. Yep.
But I learned along the way that like crap, kids are surprised when you say it,
Right?
But it's not a bad enough word that they're gonna like run home and tell their parents about it. They're just gonna be like,
right.
oh, she said crap, and then I turned it into craptastic, and
it works.
And it works. I like it.
It works. Yes, we need those words that skate the line. No
Right.
phone call worthy,
Right.
But you know,
right.
get the point across.
Right. Exactly.
So going with that, number 2, what is your least favorite word?
I have 2.
That's
Go
okay.
for it.
Moist and chunky.
Ooh.
Oh, chunky. Ugh, no.
I don't. That's what's funny. Moist doesn't bother me, but chunky.
Moist doesn't, but especially paired with moist.
Yeah.
Chunky creates an image.
Maybe you should have like paused in between when you put them together, because maybe that's what did it.
I also don't like the word puberty. Something about that word, just the way that the EU sound, I just don't like it. But moist and chunky, and yeah, gross.
Yeah,
just gross.
I agree. Yeah, no.
Someone's gonna start trolling me over that.
I have to change my answer because I don't know that I have a least favorite word as much as I have a least favorite phrase as a teacher.
Okay.
I don't get it. Because my response to that immediately is ask me a question. Right? So rather than here's what I'm struggling with, or I'm confused here, or I need you to clarify X, the I don't get it to me is like, wait, I just talked for 15 minutes.
Right. Well, it's what don't you get?
Don't you get?
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's being specific. Yeah, because that's
right.
Your cat. It's like,
oh,
there were times when, is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
It's a boy. I'm like, he is silently judging me through the camera. There was like no
judgy
looking, and I'm like, sorry if you don't like me.
Like, when he looks at you through the camera, he is sending you a message.
He was. I was like, I'm sorry. I just hide this.
He's very judgmental. He's mad that I haven't, like, there's a little thing of his specialized diet food over there. So he's just being a little bit of a diva, waiting for it.
I understand. So, okay, let me go with, number 3, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt? And I kind of go with this as, let's say I could just say, poof, you have the skills or experience to do it. So not like from right now, like if you say, I wish that I was an astronaut, okay, that would work. So what would you like to attempt other than what you do? So no teaching.
Okay, so my dream job.
Yes, dream job.
Is to own my own summer camp.
Oh, she'll get there.
She'll get there. You will.
But if I were to just magically poof, turn into any profession, I would want to be a cruise director.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm picturing is like every day you hear like over the announcements, it's Monday.
Tonight's
I
the
am
captain's dinner. Pull out your forward. We have magic at both 2 and 4 today
It's perfect.
on the Lindo deck.
I have known you for long enough now that I should know not to be surprised when you say things like that. But oh my gosh, I am
Perfect.
shocked and in hysterics over your own.
That is perfect.
Cocktails
My
will be
goodness.
available
I
at
love
8
that so much. A
on
cruise director.
floor E.
I like it. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Okay. For a long time,
Mhm.
I really wanted to be like a professional, famous, well-known singer for a very long time.
Mhm.
And I am not a horrible singer,
Mhm.
but the anxiety that comes with singing in front of people is very real.
Yes. Yes.
And I haven't done it since high school. And my sister is actually an opera singer, so she is a professional singer.
that
And she and
I
her
am
husband.
so that was what growing up. I think because like I say this so many times, I have no talent, I have volume. And I thought talent can come. I'm just really loud. I wanted opera lessons from middle school, all through middle school. And my parents told me no. They crushed my dreams. And I bring it up constantly. I'm like, where could I be? So I used to think that to prove it to them, I would just sing opera throughout the entire house. And I learned I learned all sorts of just anything possible. And I would belt this out. And I think I just kind of ruined my chances because they're like, she is really bad. And we can't, the amount of money we have to invest in this girl to get anything. But so I am really impressed. Good for them.
Oh, they're both incredible. And my sister is like, I think she likes to say that like, oh, when I saw my sister on stage, like as a high schooler, when I was in high school, I think she said she wanted to do that. And that's where she got the idea from. She's so much better than I am. She really is. And her husband is absolutely fantastic. And, but I would probably go more mainstream. I don't think I would do opera, but
okay.
Yeah.
Y'all,
Uh-huh.
I was in the worship band at our church,
Mm-hmm.
and the pastor of all people told me, Jen, you are a vocal terrorist. We are trying to bring people to Jesus, not away from him. You may play any instrument you want on this stage, but we are not putting a mic anywhere near your mouth.
no, we're just going to give you the cowbell.
I love it.
You gave it your all with that cowbell too.
Yeah, I would have been right there with you. We would be banging the cowbells together because they'd be like, no, do not let that girl. I'd be like, I don't even need a microphone. I can hit the back of the church with just the volume I can project. That's
amazing.
Test me on. Oh, yeah. It's ask the kids. They're like, being trapped in the car with her is, it's bad. And I know that I'm not good. And I just don't, I think I hit that point in life where you're like, I don't care. I like to sing.
Right.
I know the words to everything. Obviously I can't remember words in the English language, but my goodness, you want me to sing? I can sing any 80s, 90s music from start to finish.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
With the rapping.
I already sang Material Girl tonight, so you're fine.
Right.
I'm rapping.
Rick Astley.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. She sang Rick Astley to me earlier.
See?
She rickrolled me in the middle of our, like right at the start of our recording, she rickrolled me.
See, we have all that information in there. No wonder. I'm like, no wonder I can't do other things. I'm like, you want every song by the Backstreet Boys? That's not a problem.
Right.
I can do this. Hey, that's right. I can do the dances.
Oh,
not
goodness,
well,
yes.
But I can do all that. And I'm like, I can't forget, I forget the word evaporate, it's like, what do you want from me? But
no, the amount of useless lyrics in my brain is, it's pretty bad. It's a lot in there, but I think that
in Waco, Hyco, Hondo, Navasota, Winsboro, Jacksboro, Hillsborough, Soda, Austin, Houston, Galveston, Texarkana, Frisco, Buffalo, Groton, Road, Colton, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've got a lot
that's
in there.
Stuck in my head.
Right. Oh
Yep.
man.
Hysterical. But I can't tell you my husband's phone number.
Right. Well, and I have learned to do, the kids could, and they figured it out. Like I make hand gestures or noises and they know what I'm talking about. Like I'm like, go get the thing out of the, and they're like the lazy Susan. I'm like, yes, get it out of there. And they're like, what do you want? I go, that thing? And they're like, the salt. I'm like, yes.
Like a toddler, right? Like they're the only ones who understand you, right? Your kid would come up to you and go, and you're like, that is a cookie. Good job. You said that exactly right.
That's right.
That's what's happening here, folks.
Exactly. Yep. So, do we both answer? Because we've been laughing the whole time. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So number 4, what profession would you not like to do?
Porta potty, anything.
Very good.
Cleaner, emptier, transporter,
Mm-hmm.
Nothing with porta potties.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at a fast food chain for 2 days until someone threw food at me and then I quit.
Yeah, that
spot.
would make me too. Yeah.
It's the only job I ever didn't give notice to.
Yeah.
But I looked at the manager and said, I cannot work somewhere where people throw food at me.
It's understandable. Yeah.
Way to draw that boundary.
I applied for more student loans because what else can I do?
Yeah. Good. No. And that goes back to why, with my organization, I'm like, my gosh, why do people act like this? Just treat people like you want to be treated. It's so easy, but.
Well, I do not want to be showered with noodles.
No. I wouldn't, and then you smell like it the rest of the day. And then that's just not good. All right. Number 5. And I like this one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
That is, I guess, what he would end it with. And I think, now I would, of course, preface it with, if you do not believe in heaven and you want to alter it however fits your belief system.
What do you want someone to say about you? Right.
Right. I mean, you can, whatever you need to do with it. But if you want to just take it for the question, that's what would you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well, I guess the classic answer is well done, good and faithful servant. But I think for me, what I really want is my grandfather's quote of, you've done well.
I like that one. Yeah.
We knew growing up that if Herb Shannon said that to you, it's like a handshake from Paul Hollywood.
Oh, you know what?
Nice.
As soon as you said that, I completely pictured Paul Hollywood, and then you said it, and I'm like, see, this is why we could all be best friends. Just right there.
You've done well. You've done
That
well.
yep. I like that.
I think we're so glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Just all the times that people say that to you and let you know that you're welcome in a space, that you belong in a certain space.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope that, there'd be family somewhere.
Yes.
And like my sweet little kitten, I hope she'd be there too, but we're so glad you're here.
Mine was welcome home.
And
I said that, yes, I'd love to see my family, but it would be the pets first. And I mean, I have to admit that that's who I'd want to see, and that, because they'd come running, and then it would be the family that is there. That'd be wonderful, but it'd be welcome home, because I think that's, that's my belief system.
It's beautiful. I love that.
Or maybe there's no calories here.
That would be.
I could go for that one too.
That'd be good.
Calories no longer count. Well
That's
done.
right. And do you want red or white? And I'd be like,
There
I
you
want
go.
them both. Watermelon margaritas.
Rosé, let's do it.
Watermelon margaritas for everybody would be wonderful. So
yeah, we got Jesus up here. He's making sure that the wine keeps on flowing. So let's just do this. Yep.
That would be, and just that feeling of just, like you said, we did well. It's okay.
I like it.
I like it. Well, thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yes,
This is so great.
I've had so much fun. I hope both of you have as well. And it's funny how, I was like, well, we'll see how long we talk. And I'm like, there we go. It's a 2 episode that I can break this up, which I appreciate, because that's perfect for next week. And I do believe that I will be sending this episode to you guys, and you can And in the future, you will be hopefully then sending me one back. So
Mhm.
if you've enjoyed this, which I know all of you have, and you'd like to hear CK and GK's one of their own episodes, first you can go find them on, I'm sure, every
Everywhere.
Anywhere you
platform.
pod.
That's
Mhm.
right. And or I will be having one of their episodes here because we are going to do something I've never done, which is a pod swap.
Yeah, we're gonna do a feed swap. So one of this episode will show up on our feed, and then we'll give you one of ours or two if that works too, however you want to do it, and we'll put them on yours, and that way you'll get to hear some of our audience, or we'll get to hear you, and vice versa. This would be great.
I think it's
so. My college roommate got her belly button pierced at a swap meet. Is that anything like a pod swap? Is someone getting something pierced?
No, I've had my belly button pierced, and it is not like that. They are not the same. So
I'm just thinking where I would be. I mean, how brave I would have to be at a point in my life where
she grew up in Southern California. It's nothing.
That's nothing. Yeah, because I was like, I remember when I had all my ears, like all the piercings done in my ears, and I went to like a real like doctor, because that's what you do around here. Like they had like the clears.
You don't get them pierced at a swap meet?
No, but I'm kind of thinking, that would be a story in itself. Instead of, like I passed out in the doctor's office, I was at a swap meet. I've never been to a swap meet. Anyway, I mean, you guys, that'd be fun. Maybe on the bucket list right there.
Mm-hmm. There you go. There you go.
But I think so. I'm so glad you guys suggested it. I have heard people do it, so I'm all for it. I just didn't know what it was. It's like the terms. It's like the and you're like crazy Susan.
Oh, the microwave. Right.
Exactly.
Put it in that.
Totally.
Yes. So where can we find you? Social medias, all that stuff. Promote yourselves, because I know everybody's going to want to go and find you and interact with you that way and check out your newest episodes. I don't know who runs those.
Oh, so Jenny is our producer.
Okay.
Which she does excellently. She does all of that. And then I'm the one who.
Sweet compliment. Thank you.
You're doing so well at it. I'm hands off of the production at this point, but she's doing all that, and then I am the one who you're speaking to if you're on social media.
Okay.
So on social, we are at CK and GK podcast, just the word, all one word, CK and GK podcast, and we're that handle on all of the platforms. We're everywhere.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, if that's your jam, Instagram, all those places. So some people
are on
like
LinkedIn.
Yeah, we are on LinkedIn. It's good for networking. If you're a podcaster and you're on LinkedIn, find us there. You can also find us on our website at ckandgkpodcast.com. So all the things, you can find us in all the places.
Well, I'm glad you're lucky that you have like your actual name, because there's been a couple people that are on and they're like, and on this it's this and it's this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you keep up with that? Because that's, I can barely keep up with because I wanted my email address to be Petals of Support, and I tried, couldn't get it done. So it's hard for me to remember what the email address is, because it's not my normal.
Oh, honey.
Yeah.
This is the next iteration of our name. Our first name was too close to another show that we had to change.
We had to change it. Yeah, we had to change it. And
when your husband, in Caitlin's case, is an attorney who specializes in intellectual property.
Yeah. He was like, he's an IP attorney, so he's like, so it's not the same. but it's not like different enough. Right. So we changed it, and it's CK and GK works, but it's also like it's taken us a long time to get to a point where that actually works. But yes, we did, like when we finally nailed down the name, I went in and like immediately nailed down all the social names as quickly as I could, because I was like,
a good one. I mean, like I can easily remember, it's easy to remember. There's some, especially when people start spelling things weird, that
I have no idea.
The brain just can't, or when it's not, it somehow doesn't like, like when you start on Twitter and I'm like CK at CK.
It doesn't pop up. Yeah.
And right. When it doesn't, I'm like, well, I don't even know what to come up with to try to figure out what it is, because I want to promote my friends.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even know how to find them. So I end up kind of like, okay, I'm going to close out that little tweet that I'm.
Is it
is it an underscore? Is it a thing? Is it initials? Yeah, that's hard. No, we got lucky with that, since the only thing that's weird for us is our email address. Okay. Which is ckandgkpod@gmail.com. But if you go through our website, you don't even need to worry about our email address. So not a big deal. You can DM us. It's fine. Yeah. We're good.
For Twitter and all that.
Probably make an alias that's CK and GK podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. And we could do it through our website too. I just haven't done it because more things.
This isn't your full-time gig.
Right.
So many more things.
Right.
Oh, well,
and really, it's not even your part-time gig, because right now it makes us $0. So it's a hobby.
Right. It's a hobby. It's a hobby I've stuck with, but it's a hobby.
That's what we can tell. That's what we tell the podcast promoters that are trying to ask us.
Right.
I'm like, this is just a hobby. Yeah.
Right.
I know. I got that the other day.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not a sir. You don't listen to my show. Thank you.
Exactly. Yep. And then they'll say it's I'm like, well, I'm not going to give you money. I would love to, I'd love to be able to say I have money, but I won't give it to you. It's the fact that I have no money.
Right. So, I'm doing this for free because it's fun. Right.
It's negative dollars.
It's negative dollars because I bought stuff to do and I pay for stuff every month to do it. So yeah.
That's right. So I work for a glass of wine that I've got sitting right here.
That said, if one of our shows gets big, we're taking the other one with us. So that's happening. We're going to make it happen.
Is that, so we pinky swear?
Yeah, I'm pinky swearing right
pinky
here.
Swear.
Right here,
pinky
right
swear
now.
right there.
Yep.
Yes.
If one of us gets big, we're taking the other one with us.
So when the Powerball was up at $6 billion or whatever, I went to go buy a ticket.
Just the one ticket?
Just one.
Oh,
and the guy at 7-Eleven, he was like, well, if you win, you need to remember me. And I said, oh, Eric. I am definitely remembering you, and I'll tell you what, if I win, I will bring you a stack of 20s 12 inches tall.
Oh, he was like, heck yes.
And I said, I swear, I promise you, I will bring you a stack of money. Yeah. Now, I did not win. And I went in and saw him next week, and I was like, hey, Eric, didn't win the Powerball. So don't want you to think I forgot about you. I'm just still poor.
See, you see me, I'm pulling up in my sweats, in my
Subaru.
That's right. One would assume now if I flew in here, we would probably have some questions. But yeah, that's
my people show up with a stack of 20s for you, you can make some assumptions.
Yep.
But for now, if I'm still walking in and buying flaming hot Cheetos in the snack size bag.
Well, thank you, ladies, so very much. I have laughed.
Thank you.
And I have had so much fun. If you have any thoughts or opinions on this episode and you would like to share them, if you have anything you would like to say to CK, GK, or both CK and GK at the same time, and you have trouble reaching them, you can reach out to me and I will happily pass on the information. You can email me. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. All the information is in the show notes. This will be a 2-part episode. So this will be Tuesday and Thursday. So it's not just Tuesday. What day is it?
It's Thursday. Best sleepover ever. No one's bra got frozen and nobody played Truth or Dare.
We just answered a bunch of questions and a whole lot. So this will be for both days. So if you're listening to, this would be part 2 by now. So please go rate and review. Subscribe, and then please go rate and review and subscribe to CK and GK. On behalf of CK, GK, and MD, we hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we love you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to the CK and GK podcast. Find us at CK and GK Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or anywhere else that you pod. See you next time.